I got some Sports Center up in this joint.
I heard that. So
up in this joint.
Silence your phone.
This is Mike. This is nothing we need to watch. This is the Rangers Flyers. You know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Boy, the Flyers are in bad shape right now.
Yep.
Okay. Not as bad a shape as this guy, though. Driving back to his truck.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tackle Shop Live. This episode, adjusting to springtime conditions. How cool is that?
That's cool.
I've been wandering down the same road back into town, talking on the phone with you. Who knows? 'Cause I'm so tired.
My name is Mike Acord. I'm here with George Acord.
Glad to have you guys joining us tonight.
Corbin is stuck in traffic coming from work, so he'll be popping in here real soon. So sorry that he's not here, but he will be here.
Oh, he'll be making an appearance.
Oh, yeah, he'll be coming in.
Oh, yeah.
We told him just to
We're just going to
drive fast and take chances.
Yeah, don't be the first person at a red light.
Yeah, absolutely. So good to see everybody here. Ryan Horst, how you doing? George, what's up, man? Joey Warner, Hollywood approved, man, all the time. Joey, thanks a lot,
Hollywood
buddy.
approved.
Good to see you, bro.
Wonderful.
And I know you're sitting in that tight garage. It's cool. Listen to the rain pitter putter on the roof of your garage. That's awesome,
yeah.
buddy. Todd Langle, how are you, Todd? Good talking with you this week, buddy. Russell Fuller, Richie Hall. Richie's here. Michael, how you doing, buddy? John Allwood, how you doing, buddy? Andre, what's up, Andre? Steve Geezy, what's up, Steve? And Devin Walton. Man, thank you guys for coming, stopping in. Appreciate it very much. Means a lot to me and George that you guys over and over stop in. It's nice to see familiar faces and new faces. So that's really cool.
Yeah, the whole team here at Tackle Shop Live, which is growing. You know, we got Nick behind the scenes. You don't get to see him much, but you don't get to see us either without Nick here.
I know. That's right.
So
and
we got Corbin.
Yeah, and then Corbin, but Nick does all the social media stuff for Tackle Shop Live and SFT Tackle. So all the videos that you guys are seeing, all the posts that are going on, other than a few on Facebook that I do, Nick has been doing them all. So good job,
I do a
Nick.
couple every now and again too.
And if you guys have any questions, you can drop them. Drop them to us on any of the social media platforms. We'll get to them. Or you can email us at info@sfttackle.com, as always. And for some newcomers that are here tonight, you can stop by sfttackle.com website and sign up for our emailers, because it's very important that you guys either get on the emails or you get on to the Facebook, because we're always dropping information. We're always cutting in, right, George?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've kind of over the years adjusted our advertising strategies here. It's like 99.9% digital now. So, if you're looking for us in print somewhere, you're going to miss everything. I mean, I would recommend that you go on sfttackle.com, click on the email button. I'm sure most of you already have.
You should, yeah.
Get signed up for your emails, because we're always dropping emails. We might get a nice
a lot of our
product.
Updates, a lot of our updates on products are going to go in there.
Matt puts out emailers every week, to tell you about the new goodies.
Yeah.
And that's how we connect.
Yeah, you definitely want to.
We do not connect.
And then you definitely want to jump over to Facebook, Instagram, and get on there, because we're always dropping like cool little things that are happening. Or if we don't do like a real quick event, we do it on Facebook and Instagram. That's where we do it. So, if we're going to throw something together on Monday for a Wednesday, you don't want to miss out. So make sure you get on there and check everything out. That's very, very important.
I mean,
because we want you all to be here.
As crazy as this last year has been, everything we've been doing has been very spontaneous, and it's been, we've been trying to be proactive, but we've had to be reactive. The the powers to be prevented a few of our events. So we're adjusting and it's all going out, electronically. So get yourself signed up, get your life right.
So, we got some announcements here for the show. One of them is that we had our victory rod party here on Friday last week, and a lot of you guys showed up. Again, that was one of those little pop-up things that we did, but it was a great time. We had a lot of people here. We sold a bunch of those victory rods. Everybody was pumped on those. Everybody was pumped on the victory rods. Sold out of the spinning rod, sold out of most of casting. There's a few heavies here yet. There's a 7.4 heavy and a 7.3 heavy that you guys can get your hands on still. But everyone are in the same position we are.
I do have an update on that.
Yeah, and then so when we get more of those rods in, George?
Well, I was conversing with the people at St. Croix today, and together a pretty nice reorder for us. So it's looking like the first week of April, we're going to be coming in with a nice chunk of rods. So
yeah,
of course, we'll let you know.
George beat them up to get some more rods, get more than what the allotment is.
Well, so, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, so we're going to get a bunch of them.
We may. We will.
Whatever.
Wink, wink.
So that went on Friday. That was fun. Thanks everybody for coming.
That was fun, and we had a nice
Renee dropped off
gathering.
3 peanut butter pies along with pizza. Those peanut butter pies were fantastic.
Everybody was eating the peanut butter pie and the pizza
and having some drinks,
having a good time, talking fishing here at the shop. Which is nice in person to do. And the victory rods are sweet.
Very nice.
They have a sheet up on their website that shows the weight comparisons. They are actually their top 3 rod lines: Legend Extreme, Legend Elite, and Legend X. Victory at 1/2 to 1/3 the price,
$200
lighter and equally as strong. Which really, I think it's going to put a major hurt on their upper rod models. Well, they're impressive.
I don't know.
What'd you think? Did you?
They're extremely.
We haven't fished with them.
Yeah,
yet.
Exactly. That's the thing. We're gonna fish with some. We're gonna.
We've done some in the shop, flexing and testing, and
we're gonna get some on the water here shortly and fish them.
I'm just saying.
Yep.
They hit a pretty good shot there.
So another announcement we have is, and we've been announcing this every show, but we need to keep diligent on it. Is SummerSlam 2021's 23rd. It's not really a SummerSlam, but it's like pretty close to summer.
It's SummerSlam.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, SummerSlam.
It's SummerSlam.
Yeah. So that's going to be
might not be 90.
Yeah, May 23rd, and the buy-in's going to start April 23rd. So anybody that has done this before, what goes on. 30 days prior to the tournament, you can start buying in, and that's your entry fee. It's $250 of Jackal, Power Pro, G Loomis, and Shimano.
And or
you can
any product.
You can buy, mix and match anything there.
Anything.
Come up with $250 per boat. So that's not per person. That's per boat. Yeah. So that's a hell of a deal to get into a tournament where you have a chance of winning $8,000, up to $8,000 payout.
Well, yeah, it's probably going to be a little more than that. We've been massaging this payout, so it's going to be our biggest payout ever.
Yep, we're shooting for some stars on that one, and we're hoping it's going to come through. We're going to see how that's all going to work out.
We got some swag already gathered up for that. We actually had like a massive delivery of swag for that event already. So
Shimano, yeah. It's going to be
great. we're going to have fun with this. This is going to be the big event. This is going to be the big time, big money, big side pots, all kinds, world famous tackle toss. It's going on. Yep. You don't want to miss it.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
We've been getting a lot of questions from new tournament anglers. This event is catering to everybody. We want all you newbies to feel like this is your chance to jump in and try a tournament. And we want all you big guns who don't miss a tournament. So this is for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a fun event, but
Yeah. So
there's a nice little payout involved. So
yeah.
that's coming up.
Yeah. Devin Walton, how you doing, buddy? He's stopping in.
It's also Mike, a great pre-fish for
Michael
the Ike
Connor.
event.
Yeah. Michael Connor, how you doing? Glad you're stopping in, buddy. Kenny Clemmer.
The Ike event, I think, is on the 6th of June. So it's like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, I mean, it's a great,
see.
it's a great pre-fish for the Ike event.
Chase Walton, Michael, Zelly, I guess. Mark, how you doing, Mark, from Lisa Lake Fishing Club? His fiance brought these peanut butter pies, and man, I'm telling you, they're bad to the bone. David, how you doing? Ben Buckhunter's in the house. Greg Johnson, how you doing, Greg? What's happening, buddy? Good to see you.
What's up, Greg?
Will Hollis, the lost man. Who's that, right?
Yeah, we haven't seen him since
Raymond Barton.
Forever.
Yeah, buddy. There you go. So thanks everybody for stopping in. The next announcement we have is fantasy fishing. You know, you guys know that we're doing Susquehanna Fishing Tackle fantasy fishing that you can sign up for on the Bassmaster fantasy fishing team. Just type in Susquehanna Fishing Tackle. We'll pop up and you can start on there anytime. But we've been giving away rods and reels. I mean, you know, right now we got Shimano. We got 2 Shimano SLX combos that we're giving out. The second one is going to the winner, who was Gone Fishing 243, Jay Grassi. He had 1,337 points.
Hey, Pickwick.
Man,
is that for Pickwick?
How do you do that? Yeah.
Is that for the Pickwick tournament?
That's Pickwick. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pickwick Lake last week.
That's some big points.
The perfect team was 14-14.
Oh, so he was right up.
Stephen Kennedy, Bill Lowen, Tyler Rivet, and Chris Zaldane. If you had all those,
that's the team I had.
That was the perfect team.
Yeah. I didn't enter him.
So the top 5, as I said, the winner was Jay Grassi, and then it was M. Hall was in second. D. Campfield was in third. J.R. Schroner, our own J.R. Schroner, he was in fourth.
So close.
Yeah, so close. He was only 100 and something points away.
Not bad.
And M. Carnes. So there you go. After 3 events so far, K. He has 3,588 points. D. Haas is in second. .11th. You got to be in. You got to lock in no later than 6 a.m. on April the 8th. So, and after that, we lock you out. You can't get in. So they can't have these guys winning this deal. So
who do?
Yeah. So we got Josh, got Grassi. We got your information, buddy. We'll be sending that out to you here in the next week or so. Your prize. Thank you very much, everybody, for playing.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's awesome. It's a lot of fun. We have a hell of a pile of people on there, so it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
The last little announcement we have is Junkies watch our own river, Susquehanna River. There's the long lever pool. They're having the what do you want to call it?
Hold on.
It's the kids tournament to qualify for the World Championship. So it's a pretty important tournament. It's the UBC Ultimate Bass Challenge High School Anglers tournament. It's a qualifier for the kids to get into the World Championship. And that's really important because that's where a lot of the scholarships and stuff are given away for these kids.
Yeah, the college scholarships.
Yeah, so you also qualify for the championship, which is the day before, and then the winner of this, I think, goes right to the World, which is the next day, which is where everything goes. We got some great fishermen. They're going to be fishing right over here, right out back of the shop, starting next weekend. So.
And you can follow it. If you have anyone that you're following that's in the tournament, you know, you can follow the results live because they're doing a Bass Pro Tour type weigh.
Yeah, Major League Fishing weigh.
Yeah, everything counts.
Yeah,
weigh, catch, weigh,
release.
So you know, and they're gonna put that. They're gonna have a live leaderboard. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So go to whatever it's called, MLF, Big Five, Major League, I don't know, Bass Pro Tour, whatever that website's called, and you can find that on there, and that's going to be this Saturday. So I know we're going to have it on our computer here at the shop, and we're going to be following along and cheering on a couple of our local buddies that come in here.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to move on to tournament talk right now, and we're going to talk about what tournament, Georgia Elite Series. And, and luckily we our own Greg DePalma, who we sponsor here at Susquehanna Fishing Tackle and sfttackle.com. Greg, man, had a great tournament. It was unbelievable. He pulled it out. Had a really great third day, and got him in 20th place overall in the tournament. So we're really, really happy for Greg. Really proud of him. It was awesome to see that happen. Got good points, you know, where you want to be, right, for the class.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
AOY. Yeah. Working on AOY.
No, Greg had a great tournament. What I really enjoyed about this tournament is, you know, we always talk about these takeaways from the tournaments. You know, this tournament speaks volumes as to what our topic is tonight.
Yeah.
Because this was a springtime pre-spawn. Oh, and let's have a flood. So let's throw a quick flood in there real quick, like the day before the tournament. And as a matter of fact, they had to postpone 2 days.
Brutal.
So this was a prime example of you spend a couple days pre-fishing, you get a few things figured out, 9 inches of rainfall, and the lake rises 6 feet, and the flow goes off the chart. And I'm sure a lot of you watched the live and saw the images of these guys fishing below the Wilson Dam in that violent current, which Mike and I really enjoy that because we fish that all the time.
Love
it was really interesting. Bill Lowen.
People crashing boats, a whole 9 yard going on there.
Bill Lowen, our buddy Bill Lowen, who's done a few events here at the shop.
Yeah.
He won it.
Got on that jig bite, man.
First elite win in first.
Yep.
And he spent the whole tournament pitching a signature series 3/8 ounce jig, and he was doing what we call trout fishing.
Yeah, drifting it in the current.
Yep, he was floating that jig over. You know, all you tidal water fishermen and river fishermen that are watching tonight, you know what we mean by trout fishing. You know, it's letting that current sweep your offering through the cover that the fish are using as an ambush point in a natural manner.
Deadly.
Yeah. It's not always put an ounce jig on and go thumping and bumping.
Right.
Sometimes you got to get that weight right and get that float down through there. So, you know, Bill Lowen, who's an old river rat himself, this is like 101 fishing for him. He trout fished his signature jig. And the coolest thing, of course, I'm sure everybody saw it, was on the championship Tuesday. His 5th fish was 8.5 on a dock. And, you know, it was just like, can you imagine 14 years of just
that
grinding?
I know, man. And
then your 5th fish is...
Yeah, he caught like a giant, man.
8.5.
Yeah, he catches that giant, and he knows right away.
And you're already tied for first to start the day.
Yeah, and he knows that's
it.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That feeling must have been like...
That's like, man,
awesome.
Finally topped the mountain, you know? So the other interesting thing about this was an interesting tournament from a couple of perspectives. This was the first tournament that no one mentioned forward looking sonar. It was not a player. Primarily because the water was dirty and there was a bunch of leaves floating in it, and forward sonar ain't worth a flip in those conditions. No. Also because these fish were tight to cover.
Yeah.
And it was old school. And it was also Power 101, man. I mean, these guys are throwing 3/4 and 1 ounce big bladed spinner baits. They were throwing 5 and 6 ounce swim baits on, or 5 and 6 inch swim baits on 1/2 to 1 ounce heads. Which is the kind of stuff you need to throw in that turbulent, water. These fish are holding real tight in these micro eddies, and this big bait floats past them, and boom. So it was a fun tournament to watch and follow and kind of think about the conditions, how they were changing so rapidly. And I like to think about it as how it would affect where I like to fish and what adjustments would I make. And, we fish locally here. We fish Susquehanna River and the upper Chesapeake Bay and the Potomac River. And over the years, even the James River, over the years, I have fished some events that went like that. And it was really cool. It was kind of like a stroll down memory lane / learning / so it was really cool. So Bill Owen, congratulations, Bill Lowen, Dollar Bill Lowen. And what's nice about this is what went on in this tournament is a beautiful segue into what we're talking about tonight.
Guess what?
Which is going to be, adjusting to the.
Can you hear us, Greg?
Wait a minute, we have a breaking music announcement here.
Let's see if I can get him here.
We got live from Pickwick.
Okay. Can you hear me, Greg?
I do. I hear you.
Oh, there we go. All right. So, breaking in, Greg
GDP.
DePalma. We back home. We just bragged you up big time, bro.
Yeah,
oh, Jesus.
We did.
We just bragged you up big time. I think George was slobbering all over the place.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
We were dabbing you up.
There you go. I like it.
So we just went over the program with what was going on down there with that high water. Can you tell us how you did that with, and they canceled the tournament. From canceling the tournament, what were the conditions and how you guys overcame all that stuff?
Yeah. So, man, you want to talk about being faced with what's going to happen next was the big question mark. It was just, besides snow, I think we had every condition possible. We had a tornado. We had just unreal, crazy high water coming in, fluctuation from all the rain. Plus, they were dumping all that water from the Tennessee River to keep all the other systems leveled out. So, unfortunately, Pickwick is one of them lakes where they just keep dumping it and keep it coming from all the other lakes because it doesn't really matter too much.
Oh yeah, for
so
sure.
It was a big question mark, and I want to say one thing that kind of helped me was number one, it was a really current oriented tournament, but number two, a lot of guys are like, well, the fish going to move right away, they're going to stay where they're at. And, in my mind, it's always like water goes up, fish go up. Especially during the pre-spawn and spawn. Then fish want to get shallow, then fish want to get up inside of stuff.
Yeah.
So I had the confidence from day one. I feel like just to kind of keep, following the water, if you will.
Going up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah.
It was mud. I mean, the whole lake was mud. Where you were fishing, was it mud? I know the upper part, you could see it. It was just really dirty water. And
man, there was like 3 different clarities going on. If you went, and it just depends too on the wind. We got a lot of wind in one day. If you went anywhere, I would say from like the second to third half of the crease into the back, a lot of it was the guys were on that bite in practice because that was kind of the bite that I was on, where they were all clean. A lot of the fish were moving up in the backs, getting ready to spawn.
Sure.
And that whole thing just pretty much went out all that rain. So even though it seemed like the main river was muddy, it was way cleaner than the back end pockets.
Wow.
So yeah, that's why you saw like Pipkins and Polnick and all them guys. Even were lone with fishing that too. It was still that main river bite. It was still that cleaner water. You could still see, a foot and a half to a foot and 3/4 on that main river, which was still decent visibility for Pickwick.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah,
so you hit the water, and then all of a sudden you see these conditions, and you have to make some adjustments. And,
oh God, it was a crazy adjustment.
Yeah, and things we told you, because you keep getting those heart attacks, is when you catch a fish, put it in the fish tracker. You know, don't be not putting in the fish tracker. So this time we were like, man, I hope he's not putting anything in the fish tracker, because it was like late afternoon and you were blanked, buddy. And so tell us what was going on there.
So what I did was the day before we actually had the launch of the tournament, I got in my truck and I drove around the lake and I looked at some of the areas to where I wanted to go fish from my practice. And a handful of them areas were still clean the day before. So I'm like, okay, I should still be able to get some bites out of these areas. So in the actual tournament day, the first half of that day, I literally ran around to all these different areas and they were all pretty far apart. I spent a lot of time running around looking, but come somewhere in that change of nighttime from when I drove around to the tournament, all of it got muddy.
Wow.
So I completely, the first day by 1:49, I had no fish in the boat. And then I figured it out again, and then I just freaking whacked them. So I ended up finding a cleaner cut off the main body that kind of had like a kind of really hard contour line all the way in the back the fish were pushed up against. It's almost like the fish came off the main river. There was a small point all the way in the back of the creek pocket sticking out towards the lake. And dude, it was loaded with fish. I caught 7 or 8 in a row and I left it. I had 15 off of it. So day 2, I decided, okay, I'm going to run right back to the spot.
Yeah.
Day 2, I run 35 miles down to that spot. I get down there. There's a local club tournament going on. There's a local club guy, 2 guys in the boat. They were fishing that spot. I got there in the morning. I got there in the morning, and I'm like, no way. I pull in there, and the guy goes, man, they were biting real good, but I think you caught them all.
Oh, man.
Exactly what he said to me. And I'm like, Jesus, Trinities.
Oh, man.
That's brutal.
It was hard. You know, my heart dropped. So I get there and I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I come in and fish it? He's like, oh yeah, go for it. So I ended up getting 1 fish off of there.
Oh.
So that's all I can get. There was no more left. I couldn't even see no more on a 360. So I left there. But the night before, after I saw where the fish were, from that, I sat down that night in my boat for a couple hours. I literally marked 5 or 6 different spots that I found on the map that looked exactly like it.
And you're like the king of that, dude, bro.
I am. I'm
king of that.
Well, you know, mapping nowadays at Lake Master is so spot on. You can literally lay your day out if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And you're using the overlay, I imagine, also?
So for that, I was just using 2D look because it was showing all the contours. Okay, that was the real important part. The contour. So for me, it was some kind of, what I found was it had to be, you know, for me, and I think a lot of the guys too, it was staging areas where the fish got pushed up into because of the higher water. But like I said, they were still looking to spawn. Okay, so I ended up marking 4 or 5 spots that night before. And after that happened in the morning where the guy was on the spot, I started running the other spots that I marked. And I got to the very last one that I had marked, which was closer to the ramp. And when I pulled in there, it was every single cast until I had to leave. It was just unreal.
I bet you that was like a massive release.
What were you catching them on?
So day 2, when I pulled in there,
don't say anything. Don't say anything. What do you think he's catching them
on? Day 2.
Yeah.
Before the club tournament, is that day 2?
Day 2.
Okay, so he went down there.
What technique? You don't have to go into
Carolina rigging, jitterbug with a Snicker bar trailer.
Pretty close. So that last 2 hours on day 2, I caught him on a rattle trap. But it gets better. It gets better. Every day was changing. Whether the water was getting higher, the current was getting swifter, something was changing every day, it seemed like. So day 3, I run right to that spot, about 8 miles from the ramp. I pull in there, and it's literally every single cast for like 2 hours where I caught a fish. Wow. It was just unreal. And it was a shell bar, and I didn't realize what was there until I really got in there and tore it apart. So the current started to get harder and harder and harder. So the half-ounce rattle trap that I was throwing, the current was so hard, it started to push it sideways. So I went to a 3/4-ounce rattle trap, and I started catching it really good again.
Nice.
And then, it was a good adjustment. And then, so after I kind of got on really acclimated to the trap, I can see more down in the 360, I went to the Carolina rig. And on the Carolina rig, there was so much current. The current was probably 3 or 4 mile an hour crashing into the spot.
Wow.
On my Carolina rig, I did a really, really short leader, like a 1 foot leader. just to keep that bait right in their face when I pulled into the shell bed.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And another adjustment that I did make too, and this is the first time I ever threw these actually. So that day too, when I was crushing them at the last hour on a rattle trap, I caught like a 5-pound smallie off this spot. And the rattle trap was so far down its throat that I really had a hard time getting the trap out. I'm like, why can't I get this trap out? It's another crazy story. The rattle trap was hooked to another crayfish inside of its throat.
Again?
So again, 2 in a row. So I ended up getting the trap out. The crayfish was one of the biggest crayfish I've ever seen in my life, and it was glowing bright red. So day 3, rigging up that night, I rigged up a Carolina rig, and I put on the Magnum Ultra Vibe this time. I never ever threw the
Magnum Ultra Vibe Jigger Crawl.
No, speed crawl.
Speed crawl.
Speed crawl. So matching the hatch, I think it was super important. That was a giant bait. I threw it with a 4-aught, Hayabusa, that same worm hook that I always throw at 114.
Oh, right.
And it was just, dude, they were almost pulling the Carolina ring out of my hand. They were biting it so hard.
Jeez.
What a great day! What a great day on the water.
I haven't had a day like that in a long time.
Wow, that was a great finish. You ended up 19 and change the last day.
Yeah, 19-12, almost 20.
Wow.
Sweet.
Got you up to 20th place.
Beautiful job.
Got some good points. And I think more importantly, I think the confidence level that you're seeing now is a little better.
Yeah, it was some of the best decision making I think I've ever made. With what we were faced against.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So you go from here and you go down to the Sabine River, which
well, he's not going to be fishing on the Sabine River.
No.
Why? Maybe not. Yeah, it just depends how far it runs.
Well, yeah, but
I'll probably go 210 miles one way.
Yeah,
he's going to go out in the Gulf of Mexico and make a run.
Come back with dolphin monster.
So you're going to another tough event coming up here, and you're leaving in a week, right?
Yeah, so I'm leaving on 1 week from today. I'm leaving on Thursday, and I'll be on about a 7-week run where I just go nonstop with tournaments.
Yeah,
I like it.
I kind of said that I talked to Greg the other day, and I said, I mean, why'd you even? Did you fly up? He said, no, I drove up. I'm like, why would you even drive all the way up here, for this thing? He says, oh yeah, I got a club tournament on Sunday, and I'm going to kick these guys.
That's it, baby.
And I'm like,
all or nothing.
I mean, that club is vicious. That is a vicious club right there. Those guys got massive competition in there.
That's brutal.
I need to get all the gas money I can.
Yeah.
So
that's good stuff, GDP. Good stuff indeed.
Let's see. We got
no doubt.
Greg, did your 360 make a difference in that tournament? That's asked by Scott Kalin.
Yes, 100%. I mean, for me, so it's kind of crazy. Like I said, the current got stronger on day 3. So when I pulled in there on day 2 to that spot, they were positioned way off to the left. And then day 3, when I pulled in there, I put the trolling motor down spot lock. I saw they were way off to the right. So it allowed me to make literally exact casts right on to where they were sitting because I could see them all. I took a screenshot of it and I got it on my my Solex.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yep.
That's so cool. And I got another question here, Greg, from Dan Henson. He's wondering what rattle trap color in that dirty water were you throwing?
So I was just throwing Chartreuse Sexy was the main color. And then also when I kind of got them more out in that color a little bit, I did go to a mud bug or ricochet in the 5/8 and put them on that too.
Oh,
that a ricochet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great bait. It's just so much different feeling.
It is. It's a totally different route.
I love that bait.
Yep.
So it's so nose down.
Well,
yeah, the Shark King Red Eye was the main player, but when you can give them a lot of times when you're fishing them kind of scenarios anywhere in the country, you're on a bigger school, they really can kind of get used to seeing what you're doing. So even the change of company, is a big change sometimes. Just because of the difference in the vibration, the sound, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, big time difference. Sound, the whole 9.
Yeah.
Yep. The Aruku is totally different than almost anything else out there that we throw.
Period. 100%.
Well, Greg, better late than never. Corbin Gottwald just showed up here.
GDP, buddy.
He was tied up in traffic and everything, so he just rolled in.
I was going 100 down 83, man. What's up, brother? Dude, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation earlier this week, man. As road warriors sharing time, man, it's always good to talk while we're driving, you know?
Yeah. It seems like a lot. If it's a 10-hour drive, there's about probably 6 or 7 hours on the phone. So
yeah,
shortens them miles down.
And you know where the dead spots are and everything, man.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm getting used to them roads. Yep, I know where good stops and there are Wawa's at. I never everything's at.
Where the Wawa's at.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, thanks for taking our call, buddy. We appreciate it. We're not going to hold you up because you only got 5 days. Well, you got to start practicing for your club tournament on Sunday.
So right now I'm at Sims' house and we're over here talking about the club tournament actually.
Okay.
Is Sims fishing too?
Oh yeah, he's fishing. We're gonna fish together.
Down in Sims' basement.
We just came up because we got service not in the basement.
Hey, can Sims hear me right now?
No, you can know if you want to.
Yeah. If you could have Sims, let me know when you can.
All right, hold on a second. I'm walking back over there.
Oh man.
No, you guys gonna ride on
the famous Sims?
No.
Go ahead.
I think they like to bet, man. I think there should be a side bet.
Oh,
De Palma and Sims.
Oh, is this a buddy tournament? Is this a
club?
Man against man club tournament?
Hey, fellas.
There he is.
What up, Simsy?
How are you guys? That's
Good,
that pig on strong.
Oh
Yeah.
And in the house.
Oh,
Absolutely, man.
That's
There
why
he
you're
is.
on the line.
So what was the question you had for Sims?
Sims. What are the
Go ahead.
odds? What are the odds of you beating Greg Sunday? What's the line?
On the over under on me beating Greg.
Yeah.
At the tournament.
And Lunker.
Oh, let's say. Well, Lunker's always a shot. Like Lunker, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to put myself out there. I mean, usually I'm good for a big fish. He's got more numbers. When we fish together, he's got more numbers. I usually come in with a kicker.
Okay.
But,
all right.
So you're saying you might have Lunker sewed up?
I don't know though. He's got better history at Lunkers on Rainbow than I do.
We're not on the river. We're on a lake.
Yeah, we're on a lake. We're not
Okay.
going.
Okay.
I got my money on Sims.
I got my money on Sims for Lunker.
For Lunker. I'm going for that. I think
we'll see.
I think it's going to be really scary though. I think it's going to be pretty embarrassing if we ask like Greg's weight over top of yours. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll be scratching backs together. Depending on the kicker, it could easily be a 12 to 10.
Oh,
it could be a 12-pound bag to a 10 if we limit out with a decent kicker.
Jersey studs.
I love it.
Yeah. It's a killer pond.
Well, gentlemen, have a great tournament on Sunday.
Greggy, I believe in you, man. I know you got this
Best
one.
To both of you. My take is Sims on big fish, De Palma on most weight. Therefore, I'm calling it a push.
Concur.
Greggy, thanks so much for taking our call, man. Sims, thanks a lot. Good talking with you guys. And Greg, we're going to talk the same kind of conditions. We're going to talk springtime conditions here for the rest of the show. You know, talking about the transition, how weather patterns affect fish, that you found and, in the spring and where they're going and what they do. So that's the rest of our show tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one for sure.
Well, we're gonna give it a shot, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And congrats on a great finish again, Greg, man. Proud of you, brother. Keep up the great work.
Thanks.
Yeah, great job. Great job. Greg De Palma, everybody. Thanks so much, Greg. And we'll talk to you again next time. Okay, buddy?
You got it. I'll talk to you guys.
All right. See you now. All right, man. Greg De Palma took our call. Really appreciate that. That was great. Again, we're really proud of Greg, and it was an awesome deal. But now we want to get into the nuts and bolts. Like George said, this Pickwick tournament is just went right into exactly what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
Corbin and George talked earlier. And we were like, this is where we want to go.
This is hot.
Yeah, I want to talk about this time of the year, and and Nick and Mike and I were talking. This is kind of on point for probably about 70% of this country, at least 60% of this country. I like to call it spring challenges. You know, the spring, everybody waits for it all winter. You can't wait to get out there, but man, it's a breaker most of the time, and it's very challenging, as we witness.
Yeah, and we hear it all the time. And you know, George, that first weather blast comes in,
dude.
and everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna kill them on Friday," and it's like 3 days of this warming, and you go out there, and it's just tough. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah,
and
it was 20 degrees the night before.
Yeah, it was 20 degrees. You know, it was. You know, the water's still only like 42, 43 degrees.
Pigmentation everywhere.
So, you know, then you're really I mean, you had a good day in the water because you're on the water, but it was a lot tougher than you thought. We see this all the time. You know, it's every year when you're busting out of that winter into this springtime. So what's going on with that, George?
Well, you know, it's fluctuating water levels. It's, you know, cold fronts after cold fronts, after big impacts.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and the nights are still cold.
Like Corbin says, you know, water clarity issues. You know, so, you know, we talk about it a lot here. All three of us bring up the importance of stable weather.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's crazy this time of year because, you know, you're at work 70, you know.
Yeah.
But 2 days before that, it was, you know, 22 degrees at night.
I know.
And
that's what I'm saying. You're so excited.
You know, the next day was 58 degrees, and then that night it was
go out and smash
30 degrees, and then the next day it's 70, and I'm taking off work, I'm going fishing. You know, it's probably going to be a tough day because it hasn't caught up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's kind of the way to think about the spring. So, you know, for my money, you need to be prepared for that really aggressive bite, but you also need to have your rods rigged up for
the grind.
The fallback.
The grind.
The fallback plan.
One of the things, Corbin, is and what my take on this time is, if you do catch one, it's going to be a giant.
It could be huge.
Yeah. You're catching a lot of big fish this time of the year.
You're not going to catch many, but you're going to catch the right giant in the area.
If you get, you know, like 2 nights ago here, it was 56 degrees.
Yeah.
Tonight it's going to be like 58 degrees.
Well, this is
tomorrow,
what we're talking about.
Tomorrow, other than the fact that it's going to be a little breezy, tomorrow.
Breezy, 50 mile an hour.
Yeah, that's breezy. That's breezy.
We've been there, done that.
George,
well, you know,
those are usually the conditions that you and I go fishing, man.
Yeah. So, you know, pre-production tonight, you know, we were talking about some of the little things that are important, and on this challenges of spring and these changing conditions. You know, you really need to get yourself a good weather app on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the National Weather Service. Everybody has their own favorite. The Windy app is very good. And, you know, you don't just want to look at it the night before you're going fishing. You know, you want to start looking at it the week before you're going fishing, and you want to start looking at these trends.
That's important. That's
Mike, I mean,
important.
how many fronts roll through?
It's unbelievable
In the spring, and every one of them.
But you can kind of get into that swing of things. And it's really, and what you're, like George is saying, you're trying to look at the history and see where you think the water temperature was and where it was going to be, and you see where these temperatures are, and
you know, to plan your day.
You can kind of plan it.
And that Windy app is awesome because most of the places we go, anyways, you know, if we know wind direction and wind speed, we can pick a ramp that will allow us to fish. You know, I'm telling you, you can have 30 and 40 mile an hour wind gusts, but if you play the land masses right, you can still get a really good day of fishing in. So, you know, you got to really get dialed into the weather. You got to really get dialed into your water. Falling water, fish evacuate the bank. So, you know, it's really important to know what your water's doing.
Right.
Yes. Because basically what you're going to do, and with what Corbin brings up a lot, is the clarity. basically what you're going to do is before you even put your boat in the water as you're driving to the pond, you're eliminating water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the wind takes this out of play. The water clarity takes this out of better water temperature is going to be over here, you know, on the northwest facing banks.
Yep.
Blah blah blah. My weather pattern is telling me my fish are going to back off, and I'm going to be more fishing on the drops. So that's just all we're saying there. It's not like, you know, Jim Cantori's in the boat with us. We're just kind of using our available data and our knowledge and our experience and saying, hey, you know what? As much as I like to fish that bank over there, it's muddy. The wind's blowing in on it at 40 miles an hour.
Currents ripping.
No, the fish left. You know, don't get sucked into history.
Well, we've
Fish
said
the
that.
conditions, right, Mike?
We've said that so many times over, guys. You know, you want to fish the day, fish your instincts, fish your gut. You know, and you know that's become kind of everybody says it now. You know, fish your
Right
gut,
there.
but that's the truth. You fish
It's right there.
you fish it that way. But I guess what George is saying is that these weather patterns, just because you caught them there last weekend, the weather pattern is
Absolutely.
You know, even if you caught them the day before, this is
Yes.
how like
Yes.
like even like Greg was saying, you know, even if you caught it the day before, these conditions can change overnight, right, Corbin?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, with
time.
all of the things that happen in the spring, those fish just might shut down and stay there, or they may just boogie. They may just bolt because that's not where they want to be anyway. They're heading somewhere, and you know, so you gotta be very wide open this time of year. You gotta just fish the moment.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think if you look into all the weather conditions, and right now we're going to kind of play what's happening here, and we're going to talk about what we would do. So, you know, this will be our second.
James Hawk kind of got it hit here. He said like his thing is to have 10 rods rigged and be ready for all that stuff. So that's exactly
Junk fishing.
That's
man.
exactly
Junk
right,
fishing.
yeah.
I'm all about it.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, so like we've had, if we're going to do a little scenario here, so we've had 2 really mild nights, 2 really nice days, and we're all going to go fishing tomorrow. But we're all going to fish in our separate boats because we're going to have a little derby. So, you know, let's talk about.
We're in the northeast part of the country.
Yeah, we're in the northeast part of the country.
Let's
Let's talk about fish location.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to talk to Corbin, who is going to break down a lake. Now it might be a natural lake, it might be a man-made lake, but it's pretty much a lake. And you know, up here, our lakes are not like Pickwick, 53 miles long with 14 creeks in them.
We wish.
Their lakes on Pickwick are bigger than our lakes.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fish react
They're
the
all
same
a
way.
bass is a bass.
So Corbin, here we are.
Yep.
We had a warm day today. We had 2 warm nights. We are in fairly stable weather. And we got a little shifty something coming in tomorrow. And you're going to go to your local favorite lake. And what is your plan on fish location for this set of scenarios that I laid out for you? I think this is going to be fun.
Oh, this is going to be real fun, George. How much time do I got?
5 minutes.
Oh, that's
Actually 2.
Oh, well.
And you just burned up 50 seconds of that. So you're down to a 1.5.
The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to call George. No, I'm just kidding. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my boat in the water, and immediately I'm going to be tied up for many things before I even get to the boat ramp. Reason being, I'm going to have a lot of rods on the deck. I'm going to have a variation of baits of anywhere from crankbaits, spinnerbaits, jigs, chatterbaits, Alabama rig, just to kind of see what's going on. And as soon as I put my boat in the water and my temperature stabilizes, no matter where I'm at, that's going to give me a go-to. So if I see 45, 50 degrees, I know that there's going to be some fish that are coming out of winter pattern. I also know there's going to be some fish still in winter pattern. So
that's well put.
So naturally speaking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to those, what they call transition areas. Transition areas, I'm going to go running around the lake, whether it's trolling motor only, whether it is, gas motor, whether it's a restricted horsepower motor. I'm going to go I'm going to run some coves where the sun is beating. George, why do you think I'm going to do that?
Well, you know, the Northwest exposed banks are always 2 to 5 degrees warmer
Yes.
than the rest of the lake.
Yep.
And not only are the fish going to react to that, but everything they eat, the groceries are going
Yes.
to react to that.
Yep.
You know, so that's again, you eliminated a ton of lake just by
Correct.
making that decision.
Correct.
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yep.
You got one day, son.
Right. You got one day. So I'm going to do that. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go look in and see what's going on. And if I see a warmer temperature, okay, I'm going to use my electronics, or I'm going to go start for those of you guys that may not use your electronics. I'm just probably pick up a crankbait. I'm going to go along some kind of Rick wrap or rock, and I'm going to throw something like a DT10. Okay. Reason why I want to throw a DT10 is a lot of times when those fish are staging, depending on the depth of the water. Okay. If you're fishing a shallower lake, maybe like a DT6, you know, something where those fish are going to be in that quick, it stays in that strike zone. And let's face it, these catch a lot of fish, these baits do.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, no doubt.
DT series is awesome.
I'm going to stick with like a crawfish color, maybe a fire tiger if it's really
A little red.
Yeah. Also use a frit side, you know, flat sided crankbait, and I'm going to crank real slow. Okay. If I don't like it, if I'm grinding rocks and I'm not getting bit,
yeah,
I'm going to change. I'm going to follow that, whether it's a creek channel, whether it's a point, I'm going to go back into that cove. Okay. Because now the sun's been beating on it a little bit, and I'm going to just keep chucking and winding. But I'm like, something's not right. They don't want something that's clearly, you know.
And what are you doing by doing this? Are you trying to figure out what the fish are doing? Like
Yes.
What stage they're in? Or
I'm trying to see if there's active fish.
You got to get a bite.
Because as we're talking,
Clues.
as we're talking about like this time of year, right? If a fish are active, they're going to be eating a crankbait. They're going to eat a rattle trap. I will also use a rattle trap to cover flats, especially if there's grass.
Yeah.
So
That's my starting
that's
point.
your starting point.
Yes.
Now, I want you to keep that in mind.
Yep.
I want to jump over to Mike here, who is going to give us his starting point and why on a river. Mike's a river guy.
Yeah.
He's a guide on the Susquehanna River. He's a smallmouth guru. And so, Mike, you know, you have the exact same day and conditions that Corbin just faced.
Yeah.
But you're 50 miles from him
Yeah.
on the river.
Yeah. So
you got clients on the boat.
yeah.
And you need to put fish in there.
Yeah. So, I get to the river and immediately I check the level of the river. Now, we've had rain here, some heavier rain here the last couple of days. So I know the river's going to be rising. So I'm going to go. And I also know that because of the temperatures, that west side of the river is going to be warmer. Usually is. You can catch
Absolutely. Well, it's getting more sunlight exposure.
Yeah, and you can
Yes.
It's always
warmer. And that's the way I always start the day. So I pick the bank that's because it's going to be windy. I pick the bank that's going to be out of the wind on the west side, and I'm gonna take a note of the river level and see it coming up. This is all stuff I did the night before. I'm looking at my graph and looking at the river coming up, George. And we all do that. I mean, all the time. Check it like 4, 5, 6 times
all
a
day long.
Yes.
Just checking it all the time. So
It's
we're looking at the river.
topic of conversation.
We look at the river coming up. So I know that I want to get on that west bank. Now, when I get over to the west bank, I'm going to look for pockets. I'm looking for pockets that the current is not getting into, because what happens when the water is dirty, because it's going to be dirty, it's going to be rolling a little bit dirtier than normal. But what happens in those pockets is the water is not rushing past. So those fish will push up in those pockets. And two things is it's the warmest water because it's not moving and the sun's beating on that real hard. Number one. And number two, it's the clearest water because when the water isn't moving so much, it allows that sediment to settle out and you're going to get a little bit more clarity in there. And now I'm going to be tying on a tube and I'm going to dip it in chartreuse, my favorite.
Of course.
So I'm going with
Is that what you did on Sunday?
no.
Because it didn't seem to be working so well.
I really wasn't.
They were eating the tube on Sunday, man.
I really
Real
wasn't.
good.
I just messed with
I know
you,
they
Mike.
were. I know
We caught plenty of fish on those techniques.
But so
couldn't
I'll break
resist.
out my green pumpkin tubes because I know that's just the color that we like to do. But I dip it in chartreuse because the water is now dirty. and I'm just going to pick some of those pockets apart.
That's going to be your jig presentation.
Yeah, and I'm going to make sure that those, trying to figure out if those fish moved into those pockets. If they moved into those pockets, because the other thing I noticed on my graph was it was low. It was dropping out prior to it coming back up. So we got to figure out if they took that by heart and said, okay, that river is coming up. I'm going to follow that water into those pockets. Or a lot, I've seen this happen a lot too. They'll stay out for a day extra and you'll have to fish the current. So we have to determine whether they're in the current or they're in those pockets. And if I catch one of those pockets, then I'm gonna run them. So for that first part of the day, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'll let you.
And that's probably, but that's your starting point.
That's the start, which I think where Corbin's at, and I think I'll stop there.
And it's where I'm at too, because the
point is the clarity in the pocket.
Yes,
and
clears up,
and the warmer temperature.
And
I got bit.
Okay,
yeah.
so
so now you're doing tidal water.
I'm doing tidal water. So picture a scenario of tidal water. Now, this time of year, the tide is not nearly as critical as it is in other times of the year.
Why is that, George?
I mean, these fish are less motivated by the feeding.
Okay.
And more motivated by their internal instincts to start migrating towards a spawning area. However, opportunity. So what I found early spring is your bite windows are much larger on tidal water. As opposed to, I mean, we've all seen it out there.
The short little
all
windows.
You watching, I mean, you've all seen it on tidal water where you've got an hour of your entire day is your bite. Am I right? Am I right?
You're right. You're right.
So, I'm focused more on something you don't find a lot, which is a transition to deeper water, meaning a steeper drop. So most tidal water, natural waters like that, the banks are very flat, but the transitions are very abrupt, but they're short. So I'm following a creek channel, or I'm following a main channel that the tide flows in and out on and keeps carved out. And everywhere that channel swings into that bank, I have in my mind a vertical up and down spot where these fish can go up and down, up and down. They don't have to go anywhere else. But their flats and their hard spawning areas are right there and right there. So check out an area where I can hit 4, 5, 6 of those areas. It may be off the main channel. It may be a creek channel, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for cleaner water. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll launch my boat. I'll let my electronics stabilize. I'll get a water temperature. And a lot of times what I'll do is if I want to fish where I'm close to where I'm at, a lot of times I'll just do a kind of a big loop-de and maybe run opposite direction just to see water clarity in a couple places, just to make sure I'm not going to waste that prime couple of hours there or an hour prospecting. But I'm looking for that transition point.
What are you throwing?
Well, I'm going to pull up there. The other thing that I learned from a lot of years of guiding and tournament fishing is my mindset, and this is something I'd like to really share with you. My mindset is every day that I put my boat in the water is going to be the greatest day of fishing I've ever experienced. Yeah. Meaning the fish are going to be extremely aggressive. They're going to just fight over themselves to get to my bait. Most of the times that's not the case.
Yeah.
But the moral here, I'm going to start off with aggressive moving lures that give them the opportunity to prove me wrong. So in this scenario here, I'm going to slow roll a spinnerbait because my combination of Humminbird, Lowrance, and Garmin graphs. Don't forget, I'm sponsored by 3 graph companies, and I have 6 graphs on my boat. They all averaged out at like 47-degree water temp. So I'm going to slow roll a 3/4 ounce hog collar spinnerbait, Colorado, Indiana blade, old school chartreuse and white.
That's a thumping machine right there.
Yeah, and a lot of times on my spinnerbait, I don't fish a trailer, but when I'm largemouth fishing, I do, and I go old school zoom split tail.
Oh yeah, man!
Gives it a little body under the skirt. Yes, thank you.
Perfect body.
So I'm going to start slow rolling that bad boy, just down those drops, 3/4 of an ounce. I can make bottom contact. I can keep that blade just barely spinning. I can follow that contour down. I'm not going to die by that.
No, right. So
I'm
now
not going to die by that. If I don't get bit on that, I'm going to slow down to what I love to do, and that's drag a jig around.
Yeah.
And I'm depending on if I did get bit or I didn't, how aggressive it was, I'm going to either go with a full size, 3/8 to half ounce pitching and flipping jig, or I'm going to downsize to my little favorite itty bitty. I'm a kind of a fan on the greenfish tackle jigs, amongst other.
Yeah.
And so it's either going to be a full size or finesse jig. And I'm trying to get to that point where you guys are at, where I've gotten a bite or two and it tells me yay or nay.
Right.
Are they on the drops or did they move to the more flatter areas? You have to fish a little bit of that to find that out.
Right.
Can I throw one more thing in before we move on?
Absolutely.
This time of the year on Tidal Water, there's a phenomenon occurring where we have major migration of what's basically bait, herring and shad. The herring is what I'm interested in. So I'm going to be looking for activity that indicates herring are in the area. And if herring are in the area, I'm upsizing everything, because these herring are like 6 inches long. And these fish will flat out. You think they fight over a Popeye's chicken sandwich? They will get it to get up. It'll be an all-out brawl on a herring. So I'm gonna really always keep an eye peeled for that. And I always have an oversized swim bait rigged on my deck, because these fish will get real shallow, because these herring like to nibble on the rocks there, on the algae on the rocks, and they're bouncing along the rocks and they're following the bank. And I love a 5-inch to a 7-inch Megabass mag slow that I can keep real shallow and just kind of just slow roll that tail a little bit. So I'm always keeping my eyes peeled for the herring. And there's a lot of other great presentations for that, which we'll get into here shortly.
Yeah. And this is just one scenario that we're playing through. And if you guys know the weather that was going on, this is exactly what we would be trying tomorrow is what we're talking about.
And I want to take it to the next level here. I want to say that Corbin found a bite or two, and now he has the scent. Now, Corbin, you're on your lake.
Yep.
You did your transition area there that you were telling us about, and you got bit. Okay. So what did that tell you, and how did you adjust to get onto this monstrous 13.5-pound bag that you're going to amass?
Whoa. 13 and a half.
Bro, I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm just going with history.
Oh, I got you. So what I'm going to do.
You got bit. So what did that fish tell you? What's the next step for Corbin G. Gottwald?
The sky's the limit, because the fish are active. So if the next thing I'm going to do, especially if I got them off of a point, is I'm going to throw a big jig out there. And when I say big, I mean like the size of your hand. So I'm going to use, full disclosure, a rubber skirt for like
a mop jig.
Yes, like a mop jig or like a football jig.
We've done it.
And I'm going to put a big trailer on there, like the size of your hand, man, as big as you can get.
Yeah,
because I'm fishing for big fish.
Yeah,
at this point in time, and if you get a bite, it's going to be a big one, right? Now, on the flip side of that, I'm also going to go through and I'm going to start throwing a jerkbait, because big fish eat jerkbait. If I start catching them in this transition zone, okay, I'm going to start adjusting what I'm doing to try to get other bites when they stop eating my crankbait. And then I'm also going to work my way back up a little bit shallower. And
as the day is progressing.
Well,
or even right away.
And your fishing style and what you're expecting out of the day has a lot to do with these decisions. I mean,
correct.
If you want to catch a bunch of fish, you might alter your plans. But,
yes,
as a tournament-based angler that Corbin is, he's interested in the 5 biggest bites.
Right.
So you might overcome chasing the buck bass on the bank and catching, 47 1-pounders.
Right.
And focus on how do I catch 5 5-pounders.
Right.
So I get that. And a big oversized like mop jig or full cut jig, such as right there with the trailer in the long position.
I was showing this one too, George.
Yeah.
With
The
that
crawl ball.
that rubber skirt, man.
Yeah.
In that colder water, there's just something about
Yeah.
it. It's just, and
Yeah, the mop jig from Buckeye.
Yeah.
That big
Beefy
flowing
profile, yes.
skirt, is prime. This is mop jig season.
yes. And I'm not going to use like a rage crawl. I'm going to use actually something that's got like less action as a trailer, but it's got bulk.
Yeah. So like maybe a big chunk.
Yes.
Well,
So Mike, you're on the river.
yeah. So I'm at that point where
And you got a couple bites.
I might have caught a couple fish in those pockets, and I'm like, I'm going to run some of these pockets, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep looking for that clear water. I'm going to keep looking for that warmer water. I'm going to fish those pockets, move around a little bit.
And you're catching smallmouth.
But I'm catching smallmouth. But I'm keeping an eye on what's going on. One of the things that you got to remember is a river is ever changing. So I'm watching the trees. I'm watching the bushes. I'm looking for wet marks on that stuff. Once I start seeing wet marks on there, I'm going to notice that the river's falling, and I may have to make some adjustments. But now the water's, this is 10 o'clock now.
Warmed up a little bit.
Things are warming up a little bit. 10, 11 o'clock. I got my jerk. I'm going to fish right on the edge of the current and the pocket, because sometimes those real big fish, like the biggest ones, George, are right on that edge.
I'd like to add something to that.
Yeah.
If I could real quick.
Okay.
That is exactly what happened in this Elite Series tournament. Did you see those guys right on that edge?
Yeah.
It was tight. Yeah.
So
I'm feeling what you're saying.
So, I might have caught 1, 2, 3, maybe even a half a dozen fish out of 3 or 4 pockets. And I'm like, oh man, this is good time. But maybe I didn't catch a 3.5, 4 pounder. So maybe I'm just catching like pounders, 2 pounders, 2.5 pounders. And I didn't really get into some good fish. So now I'm going to start experimenting for that. I'm going to bust out my jerkbait. I'm going to fish that current edge real hard. I'm going to let it soak in there. And I'm going to jerk it. I'm going to let it sit. I'm not going to fish it fast because it's still early spring. It's,
And you're upper
on the upper 40. So I'm not going to work it real fast, but I'm going to work it. I'm going to let it set, and it's just going to set there. It's just going to set there, and it's just going to swim in that water, Now, I may have to change from a shallow diving Vision 110 to a deeper diving Vision 110 +1 or a Vision 110 +1 junior, which is I have the junior in my hand because I think in the colder water that may be a little better play. Just to maybe check how aggressive they are. Are they up high in the water?
Mm-hmm.
Will they chase high in the water column with this one, or will they chase deeper in the water? They're not going to chase deeper, and they're going to hit something deeper in the water column. And that's going to get me and see if I can't get a big bite. And once I establish a big bite on that, then I can run that pattern too. But then a whole day I'm watching the conditions, George.
So listen,
now,
if you look at what's going on in our part of the world, which is actually indicative of probably 60% of the country, as we said earlier, we're going to witness a water temperature migration into the low 50s here, like now. So in that situation, Mike, let's say you go back a day or two after this hypothetical situation and it's in the mid 50s, low 50s.
Yeah.
What adjustments?
And that's really the topic. That's really
let's say your river rose a little bit.
That's really the gist of our I mean, we're getting a lot of questions on line size, and we're getting a lot of questions on the color of the bait to throw and everything. And I want to really get into all that. What we're trying to get the gist of is the changes of the weather and
decision making.
And making that decision now, like I'm on those fish yesterday. I ended up catching some good ones in those seams. I was catching a lot of numbers out of those pockets.
It warmed up. And
then I come back the next day. It's warmer, but the river dropped.
How did you get to fish 2 days in a row?
I don't know, man. I think you gave me off. I was like, okay, cool, dude, I'm going. So all of a sudden, the river's going to change. It's going to go back, start dropping down 6 inches overnight. And it got what, warmer or colder?
Warmer.
It got warmer.
You warmed up by probably 3 or 4 degrees.
Yeah, so it got
your morning temperature.
Right. So now I didn't have to put, like the other day, man, we had everything on, the gloves, the hats, the mittens, the everything. It was 24 degrees in the morning. So now I'm getting there and it's 50 degrees in the morning.
And the water's 50.
And the water's 50. And now I'm going to go back to those areas and I'm going to see that the water's dropped. I'm going to start fishing right away with I always start out with a tube or something like that. But then I'm going to get right on that jerkbait right away. I'm going to get right on that jerkbait.
Okay.
I'm going to get onto that. I'm going to get onto that current now. And I'm going to start throwing those currents. But now I'm going to kind of move towards the creek mouse or maybe check an island. This is where you think it's going to happen quicker than it does, George.
Yep. Yeah. And we talked about that Sunday when we fished.
And it doesn't, so I would slide out to these spawning islands and I would try to find one that has some clear water on it. And I would fish 2 or 3 of them just to see.
We always use the phrase, we got to keep them honest.
You got to keep them honest. So we go
Which
out.
means
so, now I'm going to go
run
out.
a few.
Yeah. I went out, I ran a few of those islands and I didn't get bit. So
how about me? Was I
now,
did I get bit?
Now
What's the live scope say? What did George's
it's
6
funny.
minutes
It's
say?
funny because this could be the toughest day of the whole weekend. We're gonna smash these freaking things.
And you're out there like putting on sunscreen, stripping clothes.
Yeah.
You got a whole thing filled
and
up.
you think this is going to be the best day of your whole entire week.
Got your mind open.
And this is where those fish say, it's time to start moving.
Yep.
It's time.
Can we go to the back of the top of the list here?
Yeah.
What do we call it? Spring challenges.
Spring challenges. This is your spring
The
challenges.
spring is a challenging, frustrating season.
And you need to stop and say, dang it, man, they're moving now. They're not in those pockets. They're not on the edge of the current.
And your river fish move a lot,
And
don't they?
I see where my islands are. And I see where they were the day before. So now I got to concentrate in that midsection. And I'm telling you, for 90% of the people that fish the river, that change from here to there is so hard to fish. But if you would just fish it,
You can't see it.
and fish it the way you would, if you saw it, I think, putting your jerkbait and hovering it right there, or getting a crankbait out now and starting to dig the crankbait, or getting a heavier tube head, busting up to a quarter ounce,
Chatterbait.
ounce, getting a chatterbait and working it down those ledges and working those ledges across to where those islands are. Somewhere along there, you're going to find, because they're all current breaks, right, bro?
Right. Absolutely. They're highways.
Yeah. What happens up here? They don't care. They're down here where there's nothing.
They're actually pretty well defined too, because you can see it
Yeah.
going across the river. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So
what I kind of thought you were going to say.
So that's the change that we're
But that's
talking
important.
about.
Very.
That the
It's
day
very
before we caught 40 fish. We figured them out. We caught 40 fish in pockets and on current seams. And all of a sudden you go back and there's nothing.
Well, see, in my world, Mike, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. So now you're on Tidal Water.
In my
We gotta
world,
keep saying
it's
this.
a lot easier.
George is talking about Tidal Water. I was talking about river. He's on a Tidal Water.
So when my fish make the move shallow, it's not like they're holding flags out of the water that say, come over here. But I now know that I'm looking for a stubbly grass edge, which really makes my job easy, because my fish love to spawn on a grass edge. They really like to spawn on an inside grass edge.
Mhm.
And they are not averse to going so shallow that their backs almost stick out of the water.
Mhm.
And they do it quickly because why? The little critters that they eat become more active in those warmer shallows. The other thing that I look for is pad stems. So I know my fish are going to migrate into areas that have pad stems, because usually pads grow in vast areas of a soft bottom, which is not conducive to spawning, but it's the only thing these fish have, and it's hard cover. The pad stem is the hard cover. So the root balls and the pad stems is where they're going to want to spawn. So they're prospecting.
Yeah. So you went in there, you caught some out of the pad stems.
Yeah,
And
I'm moving.
And then you went home and you're like, oh man, I got something going on. And overnight this giant cold front comes in.
Yeah.
And you get back to
Why you got to ruin my day off?
Well, because I had the warm scenario. I'm going to give you the cold
because
scenario.
this is your 2 days.
And then we're really going to screw Corbin up.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do
ready.
is when I get up to the ramp in the morning, is I'm going to be putting on the insulated Sims bibs.
Just so everybody knows what the joke here is. And if it's cold, man, it's a little bit off. This guy here dresses up like he's going Mount Everest.
But I fish all winter, so I mean, I'm not adverse to it.
No,
but I'm geared down. So
we were breaking in my Raptor last year, and
so I'm putting on the Sims goose down jacket. I'm putting the Sims Prima Loft bibs over top of that, and then just to be safe, I'm putting the Prima Loft Challenger insulated jacket on top of the goose hat, some gloves, and a few other accessories.
So when you boat ramp and you're now 30 degrees.
Yeah. So
yesterday it was you got to the ramp.
I'm going to start. I'm going to reverse my procedure, and I'm going to start back where I started the first day. I'm going to go back to my.
Why wouldn't you go to the pad stems and check those first?
I'm smarter than the average bear there, Yogi.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's the same reason I call you down in poker all the time. I mean, I know that your pair of jacks ain't good enough, bro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on my way in, I'm going to stop at, again, 3 or 4 transition areas. If I don't get bit, then guess what? My fish didn't react as quickly.
Yeah.
You know, let's not forget, people. Zoom in on the size of my little pinky nail. That's bigger than a bass's brain. So, I mean, we're not talking about the most sophisticated, smartest creature on planet Earth. A lot of times he's going to do that, but a lot of times he's not. So I'm going to assume that those fish backed off. My water temperature dropped. When I put my boat in the morning, I noticed it was back down to 47 degrees, which is a big drop. And I'm going to go back to those transition areas. I'm going to slow back down again. And on a cold front situation like that, I'm an old school shaky head guy.
Good question.
But guess what, Mike?
Good question here.
I fell in love with this big TRD for that scenario.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a power finesse shroom, weedless, a big TRD. I'm going to get a spinning rod out.
Yep.
And I'm going to pick that spot apart that I was throwing a jig or whatnot.
James Hawk wants to know, how long do you stay on a spot before you move or change it up?
Well, and
because that's the big question. You know, you're going back to some place where you think they're going to be, and if you don't get bit, how long do you stay there?
I'm not staying long, 15 to 20 minutes max, and I feel like I'm burning daylight. It's an excellent question.
Yeah. Good
and
question.
It's probably the biggest, number one, single most biggest error I see experienced fishermen make. Not that I'm anything, I'd do it myself.
Because what's that doing? What are you doing when
you're
you do
burning
that?
daylight, baby?
Well, you're fishing dead water.
You're fishing history.
You need
dead water.
You need to go in, give it like 15 minutes of a progression from most aggressive to least aggressive. So maybe I'll start off with my spinnerbait again, and then I'll quickly transition back to my big TRD.
Most of the time you have somebody with you too.
My jig.
And somebody could be throwing something else. Let's not forget, you're not always fishing by yourself. I always use my co-angler. I always use him to see what he's doing.
That's a valid point.
Try it. You know, if he's throwing something slow, I'm going to throw something fast, because you can narrow your pattern down a lot quicker.
Yes.
So, we're going to do a show on co-anglers, Corbin.
Yeah. I can't wait
someday, and we're going to talk about, a lot of things about
co-angler
about co-anglers and what co-anglers can tell the boater. The boaters always complain more so than I really understand what's going on. They need to be able to use the co-angler. That's kind of nasty, because most co-anglers are great.
Yeah.
Every now and then you get that one. But anyway, I don't want to get on that right now, because I could go off on that right now. I could just go off on that.
Yeah, I'd like to stay.
On
this whole hypothetical fishing trip.
Yeah, but if your co-angler pick up a shaky head and he throws it out there, so that's your slow guy. Now you can pick that crankbait up.
Yeah.
And now you can pick that spinnerbait up and feel confident to do it.
Absolutely.
If you're by yourself, then you need to rotate through all that stuff. Right, George?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right. All right. I just wanted to get that point across.
Yeah. So, let's say now in these,
Well, that's like Corbin.
that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to transition to Corbin here.
This
so
is
let's
late.
say now,
Because everybody's saying Corbin's throwing mop jigs for smallies on the river. And
no, Corbin's fishing on a lake.
Corbin
Corbin's
does
doing
throw jigs on the river, though.
Oh yeah. But Corbin is throwing on a lake. He's the guy breaking the lake scenario down. So you guys that know him as a smallmouth junkie, he also is a lake guru. So that's why we put him with the lake.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we progressed a little farther through spring. Right now on my clock, March, but
well, the same scenario for Corbin.
In our hypothetical, there's a full moon coming up, Corbin.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Oh, I am actually probably running to the back and fishing flats in any piece of grass that I see. Okay. Fish in this area do spawn at colder temperatures than people realize. I will say that right now. I'm also going to be fishing what I like to call junk. So I'm going to have a jig readily accessible, and I am going to flip.
What's your favorite color?
It depends on the watercolor. I keep it simple. I go green pumpkin, black blue, or I do black blue with green pumpkin trailer. And
I knit.
And I'm going to be flipping literally every single tree that I can find.
Yep.
And I don't care if it's in 1 foot of water or 10 foot of water.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of questions. What I'm going to do is bounce back to all these questions in a little bit, guys. So
Yeah.
we're not blowing you off. We're just going to do these scenarios, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to scroll through all the questions, and we're going to nail them. So go ahead, Corbin. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And I'm going to be fishing that jig on 50-pound braid or 20-pound fluorocarbon, because I'm not looking for like the tree that like is the perfect Charlie Brown tree. There's not a lot of branches on it, not a lot of leaves. I'm looking for the gnarly stuff, man. I'm looking for like something that Senko on the outside of, and I'm going to go flip this heavy jig in the middle of it and set the steel, man.
That's
Point.
interesting.
That's a great point.
That's very interesting.
And I'm, believe it or not, I'm actually not going to use a 3/8 ounce jig. I'm going to use a 5/8, 3/4, something heavy, because I want to get through it. So I actually like cross-eye jig. Believe it or not, it's awesome.
Yeah.
With the Elastec trailer, you can use it all day long. For those guys that like Zoom, you can use Super Chunk. But something that you can get in and out of there. Now, I'm also going to be throwing a jerkbait.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm sure once you throw the crazy scenario at me, I'll be talking more about this. But in the backs of the pockets, I'll throw a rattle trap and a chatterbait through the grass, looking for active fish. The jerkbait, I'm not going to let pause as much. If it's a high pressure bluebird sky.
Are you doing swim jigs at this time, or you're just still dragging and hopping?
Yeah, I'm
just dragging.
Well, wait, in the thick stuff?
In the jig. Well, yeah, what are you doing? You're flipping and dragging
I'm flipping it. I'm picking it up. I'm flipping it. I'm picking it up.
Yeah, so you're just
I'm fishing for a reaction.
And then on those flats, are you dragging?
I'm not throwing a jig on the flats.
Yeah, you're just looking. Well, what if you find a pop of water on them? You drag then?
Yeah, if there's no grass, I will drag. I'll drag. I won't do the heavy flipping jig. I'll do like the big live rubber jig,
mop jig, like thing.
Imitating a big crayfish. Yeah.
Okay, so now that was on Tuesday, and your boss gave you off on Wednesday, and you wake up in the morning and jeez, man, it's like, what happened to my 50 degrees? It's 30 degrees. You hit the water, you had 51, 52 degrees. Now you're down to 48, 47, 48 degrees. Where are you? You going back to those trees and checking it? What are you doing, man? This is where people really get screwed up. And what baits are you going to?
So I got one question for you: is it sunny or is it cloudy? Is it going to be sunny later on?
No, it's just a massive cold front came through. It's cloudy in the morning. It's no threatening rain. It's just clouds. Cloud moved in. The wind's blowing a little bit. That front came through and it just got cold. It just dropped, 30 degrees out of the air temperature, 40 degrees out of the air temperature. Your day up.
I'm going to go right back where I left off.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give it 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And if I don't get a bite, or if I get a and it's a small fish, okay, I'm going to process that and I'm going to keep it in my mind.
Mhm.
Okay. And then lateral lures. Wise man told me that years ago. It's never let me down. Cold front in the spring equals lateral lures, meaning jerkbait, rattle trap, something like that. But for me, it's a jerkbait. And I'm going to go right back to those fish that I was catching on a DT10. And I'm going to hit them with not the 110 plus one, Mikey, the 110 plus two.
Yeah.
And
because those fish could have moved from 5 feet of water out to what?
Correct.
How far?
Depends. They could pull out to 12. It depends on if the bait left. Now, up shallow, I'm going to go to a smaller profile, like a pointer 78 or a 110 silent. Okay. And I'm going to fish it very slow for largemouth. Now, smallmouth, completely different, track, but largemouth, that's what I'm doing. And I'm not taking that jerkbait out of my hand. And I'm going to run around once it gets a little warmer. I'm going to flip those trees, flip the bank, and there's key areas where, you know that if a fish is going to be there, he's going to be right there. And if you get a bite out of right there, you go run all around the lake and you fish all that right there. You duplicate that pattern.
Yeah.
You don't, but if you don't get a bite out of 2 or 3 of those key things, then you pull back out to those transition zones.
Yeah.
And you throw that jerkbait, you throw that flat-sided crankbait, and you crank it real slow. But I like to really dead stick and catch them that way.
The thing about this is the changing that's happening here is really the key to people stay too long. You hear that all the time, like, oh man, I stayed too long on a spot. When things are changing in the spring, you can't die on these spots. I mean, I think watching Major League Fishing shows you that these guys are covering a ton of water just to get bit, and I think when it gets tough, it's very important to cover a lot of water.
I agree.
What surprised me for the Pickwick tournament is guys didn't take that current as much. Like a lot of guys didn't understand. I don't think understood what the current was doing to some of these fish, especially the smallmouth. Smallmouth is a smallmouth.
Yeah.
When that water came up there in those pockets up there,
they love it.
I mean, they love that.
They love
yes,
that.
They do.
They freaking love that. And they were throwing what Zaldane was up there throwing swim baits.
Yeah. I could not believe nobody threw a tube.
His swim bait was working up until the water got dirty.
Yeah, I know.
Swim bait's a visual bait.
But you could have, that tube would have done it. Nobody threw a tube.
That's what I was shocked about.
Nobody threw a white, like a pointer 100 chartreuse shad on a seam.
Right.
Up there. They'll freaking eat that thing.
And the deep diver, A
smallmouth's a smallmouth. I don't care. A river smallmouth's a smallmouth.
They were throwing a big spinner bait and a big swim bait.
Yeah, and
for the aggressive bite.
They were. Look, and those guys know.
And they got that bite. They got that bite.
It was very interesting to see that.
That's the difference between a 15-pound bag and a 23-pound bag.
Yep.
Kobe Krieger on day one threw a.
I don't know about that, bro. For instance, the 5 fish you caught on Sunday with dropping water conditions, they were dropping water, but there was high water.
Yeah.
It was high water.
Absolutely, it was high.
They were all caught on a Ned rig. Every one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, we did not have similar conditions to like a Pickwick scenario. We had
No, I know that.
We didn't have a warm up.
It was muddy water. It was dirty water.
It was cold.
It was cold. It was dirty water.
Was super cold.
And he was throwing a Ned rig and he whacked probably 16 pounds, 17 pounds, maybe. Your best 5?
Yeah, but I didn't catch 23 pounds.
Because they're yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is
what Kobe Krieger did at Pickwick was,
well, that's Pickwick Lake. That's lake. That's a lake fish compared to river fish.
He went to the
17 pounds is probably
Wilson Dam.
17 pounds though, bro, on Susquehanna River is probably 18 to 19 on Pickwick.
Still ain't 23.
I know.
Right. So what I'm saying is, where you're talking about this big rise in the water, these guys upsized to a big spinnerbait, double willow, 1 ounce, 3/4 ounce, ounce and a half. They threw 6-inch swim baits. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
boot foot swim baits, and they picked those seams apart. And when they caught a fish, it was a fish.
Yeah.
And again, tournament mode versus you and I
Yeah.
having fun on Sunday mode. Kobe Krieger only caught, 6 fish for 23 pounds.
Yeah.
Did
he do it all every day?
No, but he did it.
Where'd he end up?
Well, he did it all the way through to day 3.
Missing the cut.
And then day 4 he missed it. He was like the first or second guy out.
I don't think anybody threw a tube. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody threw a tube. Nobody threw like a Ned rig. Well, I think there was some guys throwing Ned rigs, but
there probably was. Yeah,
that catches big fish in this conditions.
It does.
I don't care.
It does.
All right, so where are we at here? Where we are? I think
I'm thinking we move along a little bit and we get into a little closer to and maybe dabbling into the spawn a little bit, and some stable weather, some fish moving up. They're starting to maybe start to spawn. And, I'm on my Tidal Water game, which I love. And now I'm going to start throwing some fun baits to throw. I'm going to start throwing my chatterbait, and I'm going to start throwing my swim jig. And I would love to share with you a technique I use on that swim jig when these fish are spawning in and around grass. And it is a combination of what I would call a swim jig retrieve and a jig type retrieve. So I'm going to make a cast with my swim jig. I'm going to slow roll it along until I contact the grass or the pad stem or whatever the cover is, which is going to be one of those two. And I'm going to let that jig sink to the bottom. And I'm going to kind of work it like a jig, pop it through that grass and start. And a lot of times I'm going to get bit doing that.
Reaction.
And, as these fish get more and more aggressive, to me, that swim jig is all about the trailer. So, I'm going to off with the boot foot swim bait trailer that I always start off with, early. And I like a bit of a bigger trailer when I'm largemouth fishing, especially on tidal water. Again, i.e. the herring. So I'm going to go with a skinny dipper, and I'm going to put it on any variety of my favorite swim jigs. I really like the Revenge swim jig. I really like the D&L swim jig, and I really like the little Schmitty because somebody who knows a lot about swim jigging told me about that.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I want to give you my little nugget. Each of us love to have a little kind of twist. And this was actually taught to me by Bill Lowen. And I've shared it with a lot of people over the years. And I usually reserve it for more of a full-on spawning situation to post-spawn. But the Zoom Horny Toad has a swim jig trailer.
Wow.
So what I'm getting here is I'm getting a ton of body. I'm getting that fairly not real crazy kick, but it bulk, and I can float that swim jig. And I'm telling you, when they are on the spawn, this trailer is money. So I just love having a little nugget. It took me all day today to come up with one to share.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm concentrating on my tidal water scenario. When I start getting later on towards the end of April, I start looking for those fish. They're making that move. It's going to be a grass edge. It's going to be a lot of the waters we fish have shell bed. Back in the day, I used to fish those areas with a Carolina rig. It'd be 2 foot deep. I'd be slinging a 3/4 ounce bullet weight, feeling for that shell bed. And I caught most of my fish dragging a Carolina rig. Obviously, we found more now. And then, of course,
not for GDP.
The chatter wagon.
That freaking guy loves throwing that thing.
Yes, he does.
And that's kind of where I'm at. The big thing I want to share there is that change in the trailer from the swim bait to the horny toad style trailer, which is going to come more towards your full on spawn. Do not sleep on that horny toad trailer on your swim jig. Okay, so I'm around pads now. You also have to be prepared for a tough scenario in that situation, be it fishing pressure, be it a weather change, which is what we're kind of dwelling on.
Yep.
And
the wind can change the tide.
A lot of it.
That's what I hate about tidal water fishing. It could just make a small change.
Yeah, and what I
things
learned
up for you.
Then
what do you do?
Yeah, what I learned in a BFL tournament several years ago, I was on those big boys, big girls. My whole entire presentation just straight up disintegrated. And my biggest problem that day was a hook. Because what I did was I sat down in my boat and I was pretty frustrated. I was around all kinds of fish. And I cut my jig off and I cut my tube off and I cut my Senko off and I, basically cut a lot of stuff off. And I rigged up on my pitching rod a drop shot rig with a wacky 5-inch Senko, which I picked up off the floor of my boat because it was handy and it was a black Senko. And I had a hell of a time with losing 5-pounders left and right because of my hook.
Start rolling here.
So what I did was I went to a wide gap, short shank with a weed guard hook. And my moral of my story is tie yourself up a drop shot rig on your pitching rod with a 6-inch leader. Go to a 3/8 ounce, and I like this Eco tungsten full contact kind of a teardrop. Go to anybody's teardrop. 3/8 ounce, and start pitching and flipping a wacky rigged 5-inch Senko around pad stems or your grass line when your fish stop responding to your other presentations. And that's my second, really on the water in a tournament situation, made the adjustment, saw it happen, and have been riding that ever since. So
yeah, good one.
Yeah, those are two things that I really wanted to share about this situation here.
Yeah. Yeah. So Corbin, beds or on beds.
Some of them are.
Bedding fish is a whole different thing.
We're not really talking bed fish,
Yeah,
but they're getting up there.
In the back of coves and stuff, like the back of
You're still kind of fishing all the same stuff.
They're coming off the main lake to the back. I'm gonna be throwing a jerkbait.
Still a lot more fish moving and transitioning.
I'm gonna be throwing a jerkbait in the back of the coves. I'm gonna be throwing a chatterbait, a green pumpkin one with more than likely a crawl style trailer. Oops, dropped it. If the water's dirty, I'll throw a black and blue. And I'll throw a rattle trap too, because on the lakes, the big thing is the grass. And at this stage of the game, where I was talking about earlier, the grass can play, but if those fish move shallow and they're thinking about spawning, the grass is going to play. So I'm going to throw a rattle trap, shad color, okay, like the Aruku right here. And I'm going to catch a couple on it, but I'm also going to be catching the grass. And the grass is going to tell me, is it green? Is it eelgrass? Is it milfoil? Is it hydrilla? Is it brown? Is it dying? Is it snotgrass? And the greenest grass that I can find,
crispy,
is what I'm going to be fishing. Because I know that the fish are going to be moving in there. Now, one thing that I have failed to talk about is the power of sunglasses. Sunglasses make a big difference for this time of year. Whether you can look at and you can see bait in the water, if you can see things in the water, if you see life, okay, that means that there is something going on in that general area. So if you run to the back of the cove and you fish every tree, you fish every day, which don't spend a lot of time on them, and you don't see anything, you better turn your boat around and you better leave.
Get out of Dodge, boys.
Exactly. life.
Right. Cold front lateral lures. And in the springtime, I really feel you can never cover enough water.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
run
agree
your
with
boat
that.
out of gas, cover enough water. Do it. Run your trolling motor batteries dead.
I agree with you.
You're not going to regret it because somewhere the fish are around and biting. And if you're not getting bit, you're either A, not around them, or B, you're not doing the right thing.
I agree with you.
Life.
Right. I mean, I didn't want to go into like an electronics thing and go on that route, but electronics to me are definitely important during this time with graphing bait. You know, especially on a lake, it's more important, I feel, than anywhere because you can see bait, you can see potential grass, you can see fish, you can see rocks, you can see fish on rocks, and depending on the level, if you have like live scope, you can see fish swimming, etc. Okay,
Well,
but
for me,
yep.
yeah, for me, electronics, I got me one of them Panoptics.
Right.
And if you listen to everybody that's out there, you don't even need a fishing rod and hooks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because these freaking guys are saying if you use this stuff, it's unfair. It's yeah. I've got that sucker dialed in on that grass, man, and those trees, and I'm looking for them buggers. You know what I mean?
It'll be catching all them cropper.
It's not that easy though.
That's freaking easy,
No.
man. I'm telling you, I got 2 days.
But it's awesome for finding your
I've got
grass.
2 days on this Panoptics, and George and I do, and it is not as easy as what they sound. I mean, you can see fish, and you can throw at them, and you're not going to catch fish. So you know, but the electronics at least let you know what's in the area,
Correct.
and that's important. That's important to be able to see the bait.
Yep.
Remember, bait is key.
Yes, and one other thing that I'm going to add,
Because these aren't spawning fish; these are still feeding, getting just about getting maybe 1 or 2 on beds, but just kind of getting there.
water
They're
temperature
hungry.
in the 60s.
They're gonna eat the shit out of them.
This is where I'm going to throw small jerkbait again. Okay. And the silent.
Yeah.
And do you know why I'm going to throw the silent, Mike?
Yeah.
Because every person is going to not be throwing the silent.
Yeah.
You got to differentiate.
Something different.
And
You're
the big-
always on that.
The big
Corbin.
thing I'm
Yep.
Always on that.
in these
bro.
different scenarios is, you know, Corbin's big on the jerkbait. Mike's big on the jerkbait. If you follow the tours, the pro tours, the jerkbait plays virtually all the time. So, you know,
Bill Lowe,
a little bit of a lesson here.
Bill
You
Lowe
might want to get your jerkbait game
On
on
point.
point.
Bill Lowen did flip a tube a little bit, and that doesn't surprise me at all. Matter of fact, he probably bought the tube here
Right.
because I never seen anybody buy so many freaking tubes in all my life.
You know what? You know how many packs of them he bought?
20.
All of them.
All of them, every one of them. Now listen, George,
We can't talk about that color.
I want to go back up through here, and I want
Watermelon red.
Yeah, let's answer a few questions.
We're gonna
Mike.
answer. I'm gonna answer everybody's question. I'm gonna go up through here.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
I don't want
let's
you-
get it quick.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want you guys to spend 3 hours on it. We're just
Right.
We're just going to go up through here because I want these guys to be heard. They got great questions
Absolutely.
here.
I love it. I
Um,
love the questions.
so-
Redirects us in the way we should be going.
I guess when we were talking about jigs, John Henning was saying, "Are you using the mini jig, Corbin, or are you fishing that?" Or George, actually, are you using the mini jig or are you using the full size jig?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I do is, John, is I will start off with, you know, the bigger, full-bodied jig. So this is like a typical, you know, 3/8 to ½ ounce jig. And notice I have my trailer rigged for the longest, biggest presentation.
Yes.
Okay. Now, John, here's what I can do. I can pull her off. I can pull my little spacer off. We'll review our jig show. You'll see what that's all about. And then I can thread on my trailer. And I want to show you, John, what happens here. Now I have not changed anything except for the positioning of my trailer. And I now have a more compact,
Yeah, good.
tighter presentation.
Perfect.
So that's kind of my, you know, what I'm doing there, John. I will also go to a finesse jig in the form of
Itty bitty.
itty bitty.
It's all
you
right.
know, if it's a severe scenario. But that
So if
I
you
can take
if,
that same jig.
if you
Mike,
all
and get
if
two
you all
profiles.
get if you get bit, Andre wants to know if you get bit on a certain bait, do you just stick with that bait for the rest of the day, or do you guys switching up? That happens a lot because you do get bit on, start getting bit.
Absolutely,
You know,
switching up.
if I-
switching up all day long.
Yeah.
I disagree with you guys. I
Oh,
fished with you
not so
guys
fast,
enough
my
to
friend.
know that's a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, I'm leaving it on.
Bullshit,
Dude, I'm leaving
Oh,
it
you
on.
mean take it off?
when you guys are fishing and we start catching fish on a
Oh, I read you. I
Whatever.
read you wrong on that.
Yeah.
you're not taking that thing off.
No,
It's
no,
bouncing around.
no.
but I'm gonna
You're
switch
fishing
it
the
up.
crap out of that.
I'm going to
and
continue to switch up.
and
to-
Andre, this is how it is. When they switch up, it's 2 or 3 casts, and then I whack one on what was working, and then they go right back.
Usually hot steel.
Then they go
Yeah.
right back. They go right back to fishing the thing. I'll tell you, I'm going to answer this question for you.
yeah, please.
If you're getting bit really good and you're getting the right kind of bites, you're going to spend most of the day
Oh,
throwing
absolutely.
that thing. And
Right.
you're going, but if you're not getting big fish and you're fishing a tournament, then I'm talking fun fishing or tournament scenario. Fun fishing, I'm whacking everything I can whack, and I'm going to fish that bait a lot. If I'm tournament fishing and I'm only catching a certain size fish, and it's not really going to do me any good, I'm still going to try to keep throwing that
Yeah,
bait
you're going to have to.
all day long. That's the bait you want to throw. That's the one that proved it to you that you're catching. That's the one
Yep.
that gives you all the confidence. It's just a matter of bouncing around and finding the right size fish. I would stay with the bait all day long. Kevin Carpenter says this is awesome stuff tonight. He's just loving it. James Hawk, we did answer yours. Run and gun, absolutely, Andre.
Yes.
Running and gunning, covering a ton of water, very important.
Maybe.
Absolutely. Katie, how you doing, Katie? Good to see you.
You know, if it's a little closer to the spawn, Andre, and you're on like a tidal water scenario that I'm talking about, and you get on one of these giant grass flats, excuse me, Mike,
What?
that has a couple areas of
Well,
spawning fish.
Bro,
I'm just saying, I'm answering the run and gun question.
what are you doing?
So you may not want to run and gun. You may want to slow down and pick apart that area because it could be a pretty sizable, 100
you're
yard, 200 yard long area. So in that scenario, no, not run and gun. Now if it's a pad stem type of a bite and you got like fields here and there, then you might do a little running and gunning.
All right.
When in doubt, get the Senko out, right?
Say that. All right. Are you done, George?
Yeah.
You want some more? Tom?
No,
You sure?
I'm good. Yeah.
There you go, bro. A nice little thing. Now you got me all screwed up now. I don't know where I'm at. I'm out.
Doesn't take much.
Got me all messed up. You're running this thing next week. So Corbin, were you talking mop jigs for smallies?
No,
Dan Swaggart wants to know.
but big jigs do work for smallmouth.
John Henning wants to know depth water for spawning in tidal water. 3 words or less.
I was gonna say
That's
maybe 3 feet or less most of the time.
What about in a marina?
Is that high tide?
I don't have enough words for that left.
Okay,
Can't talk about that.
Early spring on Erie, jerk baits and spy baits to get the pattern started. That's what Scott Callan would throw. What color baits are you throwing for the herring? John Henning's just picking your brain, bro. He's just
Bubble gum and merthiolate.
yeah. There you go. He's
Try that on for size, John.
He is picking your brain.
Actually-
he's gonna stomp you next time down there.
Actually, the biggest bags I've ever weighed when my fish were actively feeding on big herring were both on green pumpkin. One was on a green pumpkin swim jig with a full-size skinny dipper trailer and green pumpkin watermelon, and the other was on a green pumpkin revenge chatterbait. They call it the vibrator with the same trailer, and these fish were eating giant herring. Now, John, interesting thing was my co-angler, as Mike had co-angler can gain from you if you work together.
They're not all bad.
No, few are.
And the people that think they're bad,
But-
they didn't pay attention to it.
My co-angler on that day, my second biggest bag, he picked up a 3/4 ounce red eye shad. And had he executed, he probably would have weighed a 27 or 28 pound 5-fish limit in about an hour.
Wow.
So,
What, because he lost them?
oh yeah, he lost them all real good. It was painful. It got to the point of just like, please don't cast out there again because I can't witness it again.
He didn't have the fusion troubles.
No, he for sure didn't. He took a 3/4 ounce.
David Fritz would have called him.
Yeah, he would have. He took a 3/4 ounce red eye shad out of the box, tied it on, and I said, you know, you might want to. Oh, he gone. And then proceeded to do that over and over and over. All the time I'm handing him hooks, files, split ring pliers.
Why didn't you switch up to the 3/4 ounce spinnerbait or rattle trap or whatever he was throwing?
I had a couple pounds more.
Oh,
yeah. So
all right.
green pumpkin though. How odd is that?
All right, I'm cutting you off.
Good.
Damn it, we're trying to get through this. I'll tell you, here's another one. What's the best baits to throw in? No, that wasn't it. So is lighter line a good key for fishing this time of year, or does it not play a big factor? So this is back when we were talking about the early spring, jumping right up into that, you know,
When it's cold.
that very first part of the spring. Is lighter line playing a big role for you?
Absolutely. 10-pound all day, except for flipping those big trees.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We talk a lot
That
about
is light.
we talk a lot about the line. For me,
jerkbait, for jerkbait, crankbait.
On a spinning rod with like a Ned rig or a tube or a other okay.
yeah,
okay.
because you know, here's the deal.
And you might be dealing with some big fish, Mike.
You know, that's what I'm saying. Here's the deal. You are fishing for big fish, and you're fishing in a lot more cover in the spring than you would be at other times. And you know, because the water's up, because the fish are, you know, moving from their wintering spots and are using this structure to move and feed up through there. So for me on the river, scenario, I'm fishing a lot of, man, I screwed up last week. And, you know, this is why George beat me last weekend.
Badly.
I had a rod rigged with braid and I had 6-pound leader on there from a trip that we were on. I didn't realize it. I should have known when I cut that, the drop shot hook off that it was a light line. I just was excited.
What?
I tied a Ned ring on.
Why, Mikey?
And I must have broke. Shut up, Corbin.
Maybe 6-pound test ain't your game.
It wasn't that day.
Better stick to 20.
It really wasn't that day. It was a little shorter leader than I like.
What Mike's trying to say is
hook.
I was handing out ass whoopings like they were 2-for-1 special.
I mean,
and he just kept coming back for more.
I'm not gonna lie. I broke off 3 fish.
Might want to reconsider your guide for your next trip.
I lost a couple fish. It was just one of them bad days. But you know,
bad
light line just doesn't work sometimes. You know, it's something that just doesn't work. So
yeah, well, your environment that you were in was rock
and the spring,
and nasty.
The spring is not the time to fool around with light line. I mean,
well, 8
is like the lightest you're going to use
exactly.
in a river scenario. Down in the bay scenario, you would never use 8.
Never.
You would use down the bay. You would use 12-pound, a lot of 12-pound, and then heavier from that.
So what I do
then Corbin, I'm not going to let you talk on this one, George.
That's fine.
And then Corbin, you know, on his lake fishing because of how he fishes and stuff. Yeah, he's going to go to 10-pound, but that's really light. I mean, you got to really be careful.
Yeah, you're playing with fire.
Because I'm telling you, this is the time of year that you're going to catch your 7-pounder that you guys are dreaming about. That 8-pounder is going to come right now, this transition that we're talking about. And then if you know how to change with the conditions, like we discussed tonight, going from a cold front to a warm front, to a warm front to a cold front, to a cold front to a warm front to a cold front, which happens all the time.
Yes.
These are some things we talked about tonight. These are some baits we talked about tonight. You guys saw them. You see them right here.
Yep.
This is the stuff that you guys can take to heart and don't sit on a spot unless you're Greg DePalma and you're putting fish in every cast.
Right.
Then you know to sit there. But if he's sitting there and he's getting a bite every 2 hours, he can't afford to sit there. You got to move.
Right.
So go for those aggressive fish. Look for those aggressive fish. Those aggressive fish are there, especially on that transition cold front. And from that point right there, we're going to move on to some new products.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was awesome, guys. Really cool stuff. Let's get looking at some tackle shop, new products.
Yeah.
You can listen to this. You're going to miss the first 15 minutes, but you can listen to this podcast and go over all this stuff, guys, or you can pick it up on our Facebook history and our YouTube page that Nick will he edits these things out. He puts them on our YouTube page and makes them really cool. You can go back and look at this stuff and read about this stuff and hear and listen to this stuff again if you missed something. We got to keep this show going.
Yep.
What's hot, George? What's going on product wise? What is the deal?
Well, I don't have a kit this week.
Yeah.
I have a Mega Bass.
And these guys are getting to know about it first.
Yeah, well,
right?
That's what we do. I have a Mega Bass. Every now and again, we get a little exclusive, once and done special run. And we get them, I don't know, maybe once a month, I would say. And this week's, or this month's, or this one here just came in. And it is a SG Kasumi Reaction. And it is one sexy little unit.
Tell you, that thing is awesome.
That's looks like it's got like a pinkish orange belly, George. Blue back.
It's definitely not an
Translucent.
orange belly. It's definitely a little bit different than that.
Peach.
So
I like it.
You only get a couple of these guys. You only get
They limit us.
they sent you can order 50, 100 of them. They're only going to send you so many because they spread them out through all the dealers in the country
I ordered 100,000.
who want them.
They sent me 16.
But we're offering this to you guys first, and it's nobody's going to know about it. It's not going to go on the website.
Yeah, we don't even put them on the web.
We're not going to do anything with it. It's only the guys watching the show. You guys are going to get first crack at it. I'm telling you, these are going to go once the word gets out. They go instantaneously.
We have it in a 110, and we have it in a Pop Max.
So
okay, so
you can call us tomorrow.
Give us a call tomorrow. It's going to be the
it's not on the website. It's
SG
nowhere.
Kasumi Reaction.
Just
So
say the latest hot.
That's our latest fun bait from Mega Bass.
That's fun.
That we really enjoy doing this.
Now since it's been
we're
raining,
we're kind of like tackle junkies.
we are tackle junkies. So since it's been raining all the time, George, what's been going on with keeping dry?
Some people have been getting wet.
A lot of people have been getting wet.
Others have not. And I'd like to point out that among the dry group in the world are the Sims aficionados.
Ooh, I can attest to that.
And of course we have the high end, the pro dry, the kind of stuff Mike wears. Then we have the more working man special, the Challenger, which I'm a huge fan of. You've heard me gush and gush.
Well, the neat thing about that is you've tested it hard.
I have,
and it's been playing hard.
However,
I know.
Let me grab a garment here. I'll be right back.
This is cool. It's right behind you. Oh, you did? You put it there. God, he's smart. He's so smart.
What we have, put my ears on. We have the CX.
Sims.
Are we seeing this, people?
Yeah, it's gotcha.
So we have the CX.
Looks beautiful.
Okay.
It's a cool camera.
The CX is it feels a little stiffer. It feels more like the Pro Dry, a little more. It's not as soft as the Challenger, and that's because it's a 3-layer laminate. It's like an outer, almost has like a Cordura feel to it, a little more rugged. We've got waterproof zippers, okay, here and there and everywhere. And man, it is just awesome. The hood is so well thought out. We got the little, let's see if I got this right. When you're riding down the lake at Mach 12 and you can't adjust your hood, you just pull. And it cinches.
Yeah, that's a great feature.
There's no like
you know how you fumble around,
and cinching.
You're fumbling, you're trying. It's just up there. Okay, boom, and just pull it.
It's cinched.
You just pull it. It's freaking awesome.
When you get to your spot, because you were doing the 80
and
your hood's tied down against your head so tight that you can't hear, You just press,
and pull.
And it's
Comes
slack
right
down.
out. It's really cool stuff.
So the CX, this is their camo pattern. And then they also do this is the Woodland. They also do just a black orange kind of a flame deal.
That's pretty cool looking.
They do the bibs in the same colors. The bibs are pretty well thought out as well. So the CX is new.
How much can we get that for?
It's not, it's a little more expensive than the Challenger suit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. It's a lot more expensive than the Challenger suit. It's $399.
Yeah, $800.
So $399.99 for your jacket. Let me grab the bib.
And you can get them here at the shop. They're not on the website yet. We're working on getting them up, but you can call the shop here and we can help you get the right size for you. We can talk about your fit and what you like in a fit, and we can dial you right into the right size and make sure that you guys get fitted up for this spring fishing, because you're going to get wet. You're going to get wet.
Yeah. So same thing on the bib. You've got the heavy duty reinforced knee. You've got, this is a premium,
Awesome.
bone dry, extremely well thought out garment.
Yeah.
This is your bridge gap between the Challenger and the Pro Dry.
The Pro Dries are $1,200. And
Mike,
yeah,
you're not getting wet.
I know.
You're wearing this garment for years.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're going to buy these things. You're going to have them. And they finally made it, that like George said, that bridge with that high end cool stuff, and it's $800. You can get this stuff. You'll have it for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right?
At least. Yep. Very, very nice.
Sure.
On the Sims.
Yep.
On the Sims team there. Very, very nice.
Good job.
We have some Sims branded rod sabers, which we'll throw in with your purchase.
Oh,
The Rod Glove from Rod Glove, our friends at Rod Glove,
sweet.
with the Sims branded on there.
I like that.
We'll probably give you a couple of them,
I like
just
that.
because we like you.
What else you got? It looks like
It's
you got
really
some
cool.
in the garment industry. You got some new Costa hats.
Our Costa is coming out of the pandemic, swinging. We got a couple of groovy new little Woodland pattern and some old school,
I like that trucker.
with the band, kind of old school.
Isn't that cool?
I like it.
I like
Yeah,
them.
I think
they're
it's
racing
retro.
stripes, Nick.
okay.
That's racing stripes.
But we also have some new.
I'm gonna jump in my
some new
C10
frames.
Ford
Hold on one second.
Chevy pickup. I'm gonna jump in my C10 Chevy pickup and put that hat on. Huh?
Here's what I want to talk to you about.
You know what I mean, Nick?
Here we
Big
go.
old Super 8,
So we have
4
the,
barrel, 4 on the floor, maybe 3 on the column.
There's 2 new frames. So they took their 2 probably all-time most iconic frames, arguably. They took the Blackfin and they took the Fathom, and they introduced what's called the Pro Series. So it's a little more of a wider.
You should be wearing them, George,
Temple.
because you are a pro.
This is their Sunrise. Now they're all glass. Okay. There's carbonate. They're all glass. They're all about $259 to $269. So it's the Fathom Pro and it's the Blackfin Pro. We have them here in
They're awesome.
Sunrise yellow silver mirror. We have them in copper silver mirror. We have them in copper green mirror. We have them in gray silver mirror. We have them in blue mirror. We have them in all the
The beautiful thing about that
Yeah.
frame, George, it fits everybody's face.
fits wonderful.
Everybody's face.
But not everybody.
They're right.
Now, I would like to bring this up. Give me 1 second.
You got these too.
Fantail.
You got, this is for the big heads.
I want to be politically correct about this. So
It can't. It's
if
for
you
the
have
big
an
heads.
exceptionally large, misshapen head and you find yourself disdaining to own fine optics,
Yeah.
the people at Costa have addressed your
Noggin size.
problem. Yeah, let's just face it. You're
It's not a
absolutely
big deal.
You're hideous.
It's not embarrassing.
You're a hideous human being, and you're just trying to dress it up. Put some lips.
Do you though? This makes you cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're as cool as any other kid on the block.
I'm
We
telling
have
you.
the Ferg XL,
George wears these.
and he's a biggin. And then if you're really fashionable, but yet oddly misshapen. We have the Spiro XL. So the moral of the story is
There's an ass for every saddle.
yeah, there's some new Costas for those of you with large
domes.
Yes, craniums. So
Craniums.
I wanted to bring up the new Costa. We have
David, if you wear
every color in stock, but we have quite a few.
David, if you wear glasses, then you can get these frames with prescriptions. You just got to deal directly with Costa,
And
they can do your prescription for you. No problem.
and they're going to want most of your stimulus check.
Yeah, they're expensive. It's 500 plus for the
Yeah,
for-
they're going to.
for the
Let's
lenses.
just face it.
and then 100 and something for the till you
It's,
get it done.
it's a little gamey.
It's ridiculous.
You should be better off squinting.
Look at me. I'm in the same boat.
My
I can't see nothing.
So yeah, so we have some new Costa
Or-
hats, some new Costa glasses. We have some Sims. We
or-
have the new Megabest color. That's it for me, Mike.
For David, there's glasses that's Costa makes that have the
They're called C-Mates.
they're called C-Mates. They have a little like magnifier down there or like
They're also available in these same frames. So
Yeah.
basically, Costa took their best go-to frames.
Yeah.
Tuna alleys.
yeah.
Fish.
Yep.
Whatnot, and they did what Mike's called is put the readers in there, and you can get them in.
Yeah.
We carry them like
Split levels.
1.25, 1.5, 1.75.
Because
For those of you that
I
walk
got
into
this with
doorways a lot, we have 2.5. And if you have an oddly misshapen head and you walk into doorways, we have a pair of glasses for you. Okay.
Oh God.
But yeah, the new Costas are here. And they are in stock. And today I'm rocking some Sunrise Yellow. Here's the new Fantail Pro and the Sunrise Silver Mirror, which is a fantastic low light lens.
Sunrise. You guys that are
That's a great
driving
lens.
your boat in the morning
Look at that.
and on super take them off, George.
Fantastic.
Quickly. Quickly, you're chasing them all away.
Fantastic. That's your low light
The nice thing about that, George,
highlights.
is in the morning, I'm telling you, you put that thing on, right?
Brightens it
It
up.
just takes it. If it's like a little overcast, it just
Or if you're in a little bit of a foggy situation, even driving in my
Amazing.
car this morning in the fog,
amazing.
put them on. I was like, wow.
And you can get those in the poly lens too, so that it drops you down to that 180.
Yeah.
That 180 mark in there
This
somewhere.
is
That's a poly.
this is a
That's what you wear.
Mo 2
Yeah.
in the polycarbonate. This is like
180.
189.
Yep.
Yeah.
Silver mirror.
Silver mirror.
And I've had them for years. There's not even hardly a scratch.
No, he does, and he wears them. You guys see him all the time walking around in here with his glasses on his head. He wears them all the time. So
we don't do our Costas online because we run through the inventory pretty radically. We don't have time to build those pages. We
they
don't have
change
staff.
it everything all the
They're
time.
constantly changing, but we stock like close to 80 pairs at pretty much all times.
Well,
80
80 different SKUs.
80 different pairs.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, we stock more than that, but we have like
There's 80 different pairs.
We have between 72 and 80 different pairs on display at all times.
Right. So
Can you special order them if you don't have them here?
yeah, just call us up.
Well, we can now that we're out of the
Everything,
pandemic.
anything, Corbin, that we talk about, what you guys got to understand. You can call us and ask us. Like, I think fitting up in this, when you want to fit up in this stuff right here, if we're talking on a telephone,
We need to talk.
and and you're saying, well, Mike, I'm kind of like you, I'm 6 foot, 280, ripped pretty good, got some guns going on.
No doubt.
Former football player.
I'll stop over here and I'll put the thing on and we'll talk about it.
Double X.
You know what I'm saying?
Mike will be flexing for you with it on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll pump it all up.
FaceTime, man.
I'll pump it all up. If you want me to do some reps, I'll get it going. Add the pump in there, and
Yeah.
it is. It's coming.
Jesus.
All right.
Get you some.
All right. Let's bring this thing home.
That's it, brother.
Let's bring this thing
that's
home. Let's tighten it up. I'd like to start off by thanking everyone,
Hang on,
our favorite viewers and listeners.
we got some more business to take care of.
Okay. Tighten it up here. What do you got?
So
we be giving some stuff away today.
So Nick went ahead and put together because he thinks about this stuff and we don't. That's why we pay him all the big money.
I think Nick actually paid for that with his own money.
But anyway, there's Nick put together this great, gigantic, beautiful. It's not gigantic, but it's really
It's huge,
awesome jerkbait kit here with some fluorocarbon top knot.
beautiful,
and you're getting $60 worth of stuff, Nick. $80. It's like $80 worth of stuff. There's some mega bass in there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Wow. It's all high end stuff. It's really great. This is the stuff right here. And a lot of you guys took advantage of it. He put it out there to do the contest. And you can see that this is the first we've been, there it is, Nick. Let me get the glare off of there. This is good stuff. So
It's amazing.
it's $80 worth of stuff.
We have a winner.
And we're going to do these, right, Nick? We're going to do a couple of these. This is going to be done for building our social media. We're going to do these. So the only way you guys are going to know is if you know,
How do you win this,
get on
Mike?
these different things. You got to get on the different social media platforms. And it's what's cool is when he set it up this way. If you just like the page, you get one. But if you like and share, right, Nick?
You get what, 3?
You get 3 entries. You know, and comment. You should probably get one more.
Whoa.
Something.
Take it easy, fella.
I don't know.
We're giving away onesies and threesies.
We'll let Nick work that out. But anyway, I think it's great.
I think it's wonderful.
I mean, George, look at all these people.
There's a lot of people in there.
Like thousands of them.
I didn't know about it, or else I'd been in there. I'd have liked and shared.
And the thing that's really cool is Nick wrote them all out by hand. No, he should have.
Pick one out of there.
Oh,
there he is. That's our winner. That is our winner. That is destined.
Well, that was mixed up. We mixed them up earlier.
Trent Fishes. One word. Trent Fishes.
Trent Fishes. What Nick will do, Nick will get a hold of you.
That was awesome.
Nick will get a hold of you, and you win the $80 prize pack tonight. Everybody keep your eyes peeled. Next, I don't know if we'll do it this week or whatever, but we're going to keep it secret, right, Nick? Because you got to pay attention to our social media.
It's going to be a hit and run.
So all the baits are available that we talked about today on sfttackle.com.
Bring me home, Mike.
I appreciate you guys for stopping in. Don't forget our SummerSlam is May 23rd. And thank you, GDP, for stopping by and taking our call. Yep. That was awesome. Corbin, you got any last second? You have comments?
Yeah, man. I mean, I just want to thank everybody. Yeah. I think this is awesome, man. I mean,
yeah, good for you, bud.
You know, I think. Hey, how about thanking Mike and George for putting this together, man?
Well, I mean, you know, it's fun.
And Nick and everybody else.
We love it, brother.
Yeah, it's great.
We love hanging out with you guys. Man. It's a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
We're going to have another great event for you guys. We're going to have another great event for you guys next week on Thursday.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Our roll going on here. If you want to hear and talk about anything, please send us an email. I know that some of the guys talked about this springtime fishing, and we wanted to kind of answer those questions for you. And that's kind of where we got the idea was from our guys, from our listeners. And
we went a little long.
We did go long.
Guess what?
Good.
That's going to happen every now and again. We had a lot of content.
2+. Thanks everybody for sticking in. And
you know what I say, Mike?
We'll see you guys all next time on
the Tackle Shop.
The Tackle Shop.
Soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait, it's not a funny game. You know just what I feel. Please tell me I love is real. You make me smile when I think of you.